is the Rangers Journal night.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Rangers Journal League Cup final coverage. First of two today. We're here with you just now to give you the pre-match thoughts after seeing the team, and then myself, Doug, plus whoever else fancies it will be along after the game, regardless of the score. Just firstly then, guys, I mean, how are you feeling coming into this one? We'll start with you, Ryan.
I'm feeling a lot better than I would have been a couple of weeks ago, Dave. I'm not sitting here thinking we'll roll them over, but I think we've definitely got a fighting chance this time now. We've been playing well, the confidence as well, the team's starting to click. Clement says we would see real Rangers maybe October, November, but it's maybe took a little bit longer than he's thought. But I'm hoping this is the new Rangers, and I hope this is the team. I think it looks as if all the players are buying into it as well. So fingers crossed today. I'm more confident than I would have been. I do kind of fancy Tenerife today, to be honest. But I hope it does not come crashing down on me.
Aye, that's it, mate. That's it. And Doug, I think, Ryan touches on a point there. We seem to be hitting form at the right time. We had that demolishment of Kilmarnock, very comfortable win up at Dingwall, and then, to be fair, probably one of our best games of the season against Spurs. How are you feeling coming into this one?
Yeah, I think the same as what Ryan said there, and I think most Spurs will be in a similar position. Had this game come a month earlier, we'd have been dreading it, but things have picked up. We've been playing well. We're developing. Clement's made decisions over the last sort of month or two that I think were big decisions and bold decisions that have turned out working in his favour. So, for example, keeping Tavernier out for a while seems to have brought him back into form when he's come back into the team. But now it's crunch time, so I think fans are enthusiastic, and we're looking forward to going into the game because we think we can give them a game. But we've been in that position before and not done it, so this is now the crunch time. He has to. I said in my my lowdown, the absolute bare scraping the barrel minimum is that we have to give them a game. So that's what we need to see now. We went into the Tottenham game and looked great, had a great mentality. We need to take that exact same thing into this game, and if we do, then we've every chance of getting the result.
That's it, mate. And I think, for all the form has been good. That Kilmarnock game was pleasing. To be fair, not as high a scoreline. The Ross County one was also pleasing, just for kind of how business as usual we made it all feel. And then obviously Spurs game, great, but as you say, this is the acid test. This is where the team are going to be judged. Rightly or wrongly, this is probably where Clement lives or dies by those decisions that you mentioned. Just talking about the team then, so here's the official lineup from the Rangers Twitter. Thanks for sticking it up together for me, Doug. Looking at this, I don't think any of us have... I'm almost bored talking about goalkeepers when we do these pre-match because it's just going to be Butland. That's how it is. I think until he's injured, there's no turnaround. Very quickly, though, we do move on to what is likely to be probably the most contentious pick, and that's at right back. I think it's fair to say if this had been 3-4 weeks ago, people would have had pitchforks out seeing Tavernier on that team sheet. Ryan, do you think with his form the last few games, and as Doug said, sort of after he's come back from being dropped to the bench for a wee bit, do you think Tavernier now justifies his place there, mate?
Oh, definitely. Dave, I think he deserves a start today. His form the last 2-3 weeks has been brilliant. Even though on goal with Jason Holt, he was going to score that would have been him. That would have been a goal for him as well. He scored in a couple of games after that. Defensively, he's really, really sharpened up. I thought it was one of his best defensive performances I've ever seen him really against Tottenham. He shut out Werner, he shut out Son. Even at the end with the last ditch tackle, it's not like him to make those the last ditch tackle. So I think defensively he's shown he can do that as well. Maida, different kettle of fish for him. He's really got his number, so he's really got to get him on Montgomery back to date and put on a solid performance. But I definitely think he deserves to be in the team as well. The attacking threat also sets up Agamani. I don't think anybody else in the team could have whipped the ball in from that angle to give it Agamani as well. So he's a great threat going forward, and I think he's gonna Obviously missed a bit of pre-season. He's a bit older, and I think it's just taken him a little bit longer than we all wanted for him to hit a bit of form. But I think it warrants his place today, and I really do hope he shuts Maida out and gets that monkey off the back.
Yeah, I'm not sure all the fans wanted him to find form. I think some of them would have quite happily shipped him off to Saudi in the summer. But
Yeah.
Ryan kind of touches on something there, and I think that is going to be the biggest fear for most fans. Is historically Maida does seem to have had his number. Now, I know you've kind of got stats that prove that's not necessarily true, but certainly with the eye test, it feels like he's always struggled with Maida. Do you think it's going to be different this time?
I don't think it's certainly true that he has struggled. That's an absolutely the case. And disappointingly, in recent games, with Tavernier having been off form for a period last year, Maida has actually caught up a little bit in those stats you mentioned there. So, but I mean, that's always been the case with Tavernier. And when it comes to certain big games, we've got the positives of what he brings going forward. And then there was the occasional struggles defensively. I think we occasionally do boil it down a little bit too much in terms of one-to-one defending as a team is something the team does. And when Tavernier and the team were at their absolute best, was that triangle when we had Goldson and Jack both also playing at their peaks, because they were able to defend as a unit in a way that allowed us to maximise what we got from Tavernier going forward and minimise the impact of that fact that he's so far forward. And I feel like with players like Barron, although he's not picked today, and Raskin, and then the defenders like Balogun, we're back in a position, I think, that we can hopefully try and maximise those attacking benefits. There's the only player who has the same amount of goal contributions as Tavernier in the last 3 years is Kyogo. So, the attacking part is there. So if we can mitigate the defensive part, then, as I say, that's how we'll get the best out of it. Although perversely, the more I looked into the game, the other reason I kind of wanted Tavernier to play was I kind of want, this sounds really bizarre, but I kind of want to encourage Celtic to go down that side with Maida rather than going down the left with Kuhn, because he's been really their star player this season. He's got, I think it was 11 goals and 11 assists in all competitions. He's scoring goals, he's creating goals, he's really strong. Whereas Maida, although he also gets goals and assists, he's not as good, and he's not got as good a final ball. And so I kind of almost want them to have the ball more down that side than the other, because I think there'll be more damage down the other side potentially. So that might sound a bit perverse to say, given Tavernier's history with Maida, but again, if he plays to his best, then he can keep him quiet alongside the other players. So that's what we need to hope that, like Ryan said, that he kind of shakes the monkey off his back and just goes, I can do this. I've just played against one of the best attacking wingers in the world, and Heung-min Son. If he can do that, you can play against Maida.
Aye, definitely. And I think it's a very interesting point you're touching on his attacking output as well. I think for the majority of this season, the goals and assists had kind of dried up. I know he had a few, but certainly not many, whereas he seems to be rediscovering that just at the right time. Just looking at the middle then, and I mean, there's quite a lot to talk about today. If we'd done this a month ago, we wouldn't have anything to talk about because there would be no competition. But looking at the middle, Suter hasn't made it, and he hasn't even made the bench. It's a bit of a blow. I think he's probably been one of our more consistent players through this season. Ryan, do you think that's going to come back and bite us, or after what you saw on Thursday, are you quite confident Balogun and Proper can step up?
I'm confident in Balogun. I think Balogun's very rarely let us down. His recovery pace is brilliant as well, which I think we'll need with the Celtic front line. I'm not sure who's starting for Celtic, but I'm sure one of the pacey Japanese guys will play either left wing or centre forward. Proper, really, I think I'm hoping that's him arrived at Rangers after the performance against Tottenham. I don't know if the European games kind of suit him because the ball's not over the top, and they did pass comment previously about the ball going over the top, and he was struggling with that in the Scottish game. And ball's kind of played in front of you in Holland. So I think he had a great performance on Thursday. I'm still not 100% confident in him, but hopefully his confidence is hopefully he's feeling confident. He's feeling that's him a ride as a Rangers player now, because I thought he was great on Thursday. So fingers crossed. I hope he does well. I think he deserves a chance to play today against Celtic as well, because he was really fantastic against Tottenham, I thought.
Yeah, agreed. And I guess in a roundabout kind of way, Ryan obviously touched on those comments Proper made about a lot of the kind of balls over the head rather than coming in on the ground. I guess, do you think there's probably quite a high likelihood this will be more akin to a European game, because Celtic are probably more likely to try and play the ball on the ground, play it in front into space rather than just kind of hoofing it over the top, Doug?
Yeah, definitely. I think Proper was the obvious choice to play, because if you started trying to do other things, I think we would have been overthinking it, particularly coming off of such a good performance. The style of the game, the style of play that Celtic will play in, will be a much more European style. It'll be a more European game, and so that will suit Proper better. I think he'll still have to deal with the speed of the match, which I think that's something that still catches foreign players and English players as well out when they're coming up here. They don't expect the game to be so quick. And I think he's kind of touched on that, as well as the sort of the rough and tumble aspect. And I think sometimes we can be a bit quick. I mean, a lot of people, I think, have kind of just assigned Proper to the bin because he's got similar attributes to Davies. And I think that while that is true, I do think he's a better player. And that he just is having to adapt to having played. He's obviously, he's in his 30s. He's played his entire career pretty much in Holland in a certain way, to a certain style, and now he's in a brand new place and he's having to adjust that. That will take him a bit of time. So while he's had his moments, like Ryan says, hopefully he can come into this game confident, having played well in the European game. He's got Balogun beside him. I think will be able to help him a lot. He's obviously played Old Firms before, knows what it's all about. And I think Balogun's a great defender. I would have loved to have been able to sign him 10 years earlier. So yeah, I think if they, again, similar to what I said at the start, if they go in with the right mentality, I think that they can have a good game.
Yeah, great. And just looking at the middle of the park then, guys, Dio and Raskin obviously given the nod. I guess Barron hasn't done an awful lot wrong this season. I mean, there's definitely some development still to go there, but he had been doing well, had kind of won over the fans. Do you think it was the right decision to keep him off, given the performance that Dio and Raskin turned in on Thursday, Ryan?
I think Diamande and Raskin, I think they both deserve to start today. I think they were fantastic on Thursday as well against their top opposition. Connor Barron can find himself unlucky not to play, to be honest. I think he's been great for Rangers this season. He's been a talking point for the fans. So that kind of shows the impact he's put in with ourselves. My problem is, last time we played Diamande, I felt Diamande was just too tippy-tappy, and the Celtic players were on him quick and fast. Just a wee bit lackadaisical. So I'm hoping that's not the case today. I hope he just puts in the same performance he did Thursday. I think if Raskin plays like that, plays today like he played against Tottenham, he will absolutely squish it today. He absolutely squish it. It was fantastic. It's one of the best centre mid performances I've seen for a Rangers player in Europe in a long time. So I'm happy with the two in there. Barron can count as soon, maybe unlucky, but he will probably need the legs going in the game. So Barron will probably find himself on the park at some point.
Yeah, you have to imagine he'll come on, because it's going to be a very high energy game anyway, especially off the back of Thursday. So you've got to imagine that he's coming on at some point. Doug, are you kind of happy with Barron? Not happy, but do you think it's the right goal for Barron to sit this one out, or would you prefer to see him in place of one of those two?
I mean, in my 11, I did have him in there, but I think the difficulty for Clement is, and it's a good difficulty to have, is that he's got certain players there that we probably potentially expected to see or wanted to see, but when you've come off a performance that was so strong, it's hard to then turn around to one of those players and say, "Well, I'm not playing you in this next big game," when they've just played so well. So it's a good dilemma for him to have. It's a dilemma I don't think many of our managers have had recently. in recent years to have a solid group of 3 players there with sort of Raskin, Diomande, and where you can almost pick a combination. And I think the combination does make. I think the first half of the season we were too quick to have Raskin and Varane in a lot of games where we could have had, I think, Diomande, who's a bit more attacking. I'm hoping, looking at this lineup, that's his thinking, that he's going to try and take the game to them a bit more, because the last Old Firm, the first 10-15 minutes, we did that and we were excellent and we looked like we were going to go on and play a really strong game. It wasn't until they scored that we just sort of totally deflated. So I'm hoping that he's setting them up and setting them out in a similar way to essentially go out there, attack, dominate, and excuse me, and
I think you're breaking up a bit there, Doug.
I think pushing up and attacking Celtic is going to be what will help put us on the front foot rather than allowing them to sort of impress their game.
Yeah, good defense is a good offense type idea. Just to check, was it Dio that you had Barron in for in your predicted 11?
It was, yeah, because I picked Hadji as well in mine, and so because of that, I just felt that little bit extra defensiveness would have been useful. Because I think Hadji, while I think Hadji can get a foot in, when he kind of showed that in his first game back when he got himself sent off, but I think he can do a bit of that work. But I primarily was having him there because I wanted the interchange up front and that guile, and so I'd kind of put Barron in ahead of Diomande just for that little extra defensive solidity.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. Just a reminder, folks, if you do like what you hear, please like the video. Helps us get it out to more people. And if you're not already, please do like and subscribe to the channel. So we've kind of covered the back. We've covered the middle. Obviously, to quote Michael Owen, if you don't score, you don't win. The front line, Hadji, Bayrami, Cherney, Igaman. Ryan, any complaints?
No, I can't say complaints. I think it was a toss-up, which was brilliant for us, to be honest. That we had a bit of headache going forward for players, because I think Ridvan done himself justice. He done I thought they had a great job at left wing against Tottenham. So I think he could find himself unlucky on the bench. Danilo's been great leading up to this game. Obviously Dessers misses that chance with Dessers as a goal for it, as much as we want to moan about him. So I think that front four definitely can do the damage. What I want from them is, when we've got those spells of domination, we need to take our chances. Because we can't have 15-20 minutes Pep on their goal, Pep camping in their third, and not getting anything from it. That's the biggest problem I think we've got. We need to be clinical when we get our chances. Strong bench, Danilo, Dessers, Barron, Sterling, Ridvan. Do you know what I mean? It's just a really strong bench of the game to switch the game, which is I think all season the bench has been with bare bones, very bare. So you've kind of been stuck with your starting 11 and that's it. So the front four I'm happy with. I would have maybe have played Danilo or Ridvan, but again it's a toss up for the guys that could play. I think the guys that are on there can certainly do the damage. I think it's a big game for Bajrami because he's been quiet the last couple of weeks. So fingers crossed it'll do the damage. But I'm happy with the front four. And I'm happy with the strength of the bench.
Cool. And Doug, I think that's an interesting point on Bayrami. He came in, he started very well, I would say. Looked good. Obviously has played quite a lot, both club and international level, but he's maybe looked a bit off it the last couple of outings he's had. Are you quite confident that he'll be okay for this one, or are you a bit concerned by that?
I wouldn't go so far as to say concerned. I mean, I think he's been decent without sort of sparkling. He's had moments in games. I mean, he had a cracking shot against Tottenham that was well saved in the first half. I think he's just had this tendency to start games well, but then kind of fade out a little bit, or at least feel like that. I don't know if it's more that just the other attackers have been more on form, but I must admit, I didn't have him in my lineup. I started with Danilo and moved Igaman to the left to allow us to have the potential to push and have two up front at certain points in the game. But I mean, he's a good player. I think he can come in and make a difference, and this would be a perfect game for him to sort of rediscover that and get another goal or two. I think at the moment it's maybe this is where we can try and learn our lessons from Cherney. Cherney came in, started well, had a dip, and then came in and absolutely started tearing the place up. So hopefully we can see the same for Brahmi, and hopefully this can be the first game he starts doing it.
Yeah, and I just want to touch, obviously, against Spurs, we started with Ridvan in the left wing. Obviously, playing a fullback there does give you a wee bit more defensive options. We've kind of gone away from that this time and gone back to the kind of more attacking format that we saw the few games before that. Ryan, are you at all concerned that that could leave us a touch vulnerable, losing that kind of fullback that would attract back?
That's kind of one of the reasons I would have had Ridvan in there ahead of Rami, just to give that extra cover, because I think Jeffrey's a good player, but he's very raw and he runs himself into trouble sometimes. So I think that extra bit of cover for him would have been great, especially as Doug said, Kuhn's been on fire for them. Everybody's kind of focusing on the Tavernier Maida battle, but really, Kuhn could do us a lot of damage as well. He's been fantastic for them. So I'd have liked to maybe seen Ridvan in there for that reason, just to help Jeffrey out. But Bijami defensively he's all right. He does track back, but I just think if we're going with Bijami, he really needs to give us something going forward if we're going to go with him.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And just lastly, then, looking at the kind of subs, obviously we've got Ridvan that we can bring on, either to relieve Yefte or potentially to come on the left wing and shore things up if needed. We've already touched that we can expect to see Barron at some point. Sterling, do you see him coming on, and if so, where, Doug?
Well, there's the obvious if Tavernier does seem to be having a mare of it again, then there's the chance that he comes off for Sterling. That'll be a big blow both for him and Clement if that happens, because fans will turn around and say, "I told you so." So I think it's important that he has a good game. But yeah, I mean, I think Sterling, I definitely see him coming on at some point later in the game, especially if we're winning, and coming on and either switching with Tavernier and with Tavernier pushing up into the wing, or like he did in the Tottenham game. I was slightly surprised when he came on. I thought he was going to do that little thing, but he actually kept Sterling at the right wing position. And again, that gives you that little bit more defensive solidity having that, and he obviously brought on Fraser and put him on the left as well. So we ended the match with 4 fullbacks playing. And that seems to be something that he's done that before in earlier games as well. So it seems to be something that Clement's a bit of a fan of. We are blessed with attacking fullbacks in our squad. There's not one of our fullbacks that are really you could call sort of all-out defensive style. So he has that as an option. So I think that could be a possibility, as I say, especially if you're getting into the 70, 80 minutes and we're winning, particularly if it's maybe by a goal. I could see Ridvan and Sterling both coming on. And like I say, he basically, and then you've got Barron coming in as well. You'd essentially have a very solid defensive setup at that point then to protect the lead.
Yeah, and Ryan, if we do need to go at the bench for a change from Igaman, then there's both Dessers and Danilo there. Do you see it as a straight choice for one of them to replace Igaman, or do you think potentially, if Bayrami's struggling in the 10, that Danilo might come in there, Dessers later replaces Igaman?
I think you see the two of them coming on, playing together at some point. Danilo's shown he is flexible. He can kind of play off the striker as well. who do I think comes on first between the two? I think Danilo would come on first for Agaman. If Dessers was to come on for Benjamin, I think obviously Danilo would go then to play off him. But Danilo's got a lot of flexibility. I think we'll see the two of them on the park at the same time. If we're kind of still needing a goal, that is. Obviously we're talking about defensive setup there, but I think we could see the two of them playing at some point in the game. Just play kind of Danilo off, probably. Danilo will probably play it kind of off and then kind of Benjamin place and Nigama come off for Dessers.
Yeah, and Doug, what about McCausland? Do you see him coming into this one at all, or do you think this is maybe one just to not bring him in on?
I think he's probably less likely unless we are chasing the game. He'll probably come on if we're in a position that we're chasing towards the end, being the more attacking option in terms of the wings. Like I say, I can see him if we're ahead, bringing on the two fullbacks of the wide areas. You bring maybe Diomande off for Barron, and I could still see Danilo and Dessers then coming on for like Hadji and Igaman, with Danilo then sitting at, like you say, off the striker. So I think he's got options there, but McCausland would be more likely to come on if we're chasing, or maybe if it's a draw, might bring him on. He can sometimes come on and get a cheeky goal. So I think he's probably the least likely. Well, not the least likely. I hope the least likely to come on is Kieran Dowell, but
pretend that he wasn't there, mate.
Yeah, I think he's probably further down the pecking order. The only reason I would want to see Dowell on is an injury, or maybe just from fresh legs, if it's again the dying minutes and wasting time kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think attacking, I'm not quite as confident as Ryan. I think with the bench attacking wise, I think Danilo and Dessers are the strongest ones, but outside of those two, I think most of our options shore the team up rather than necessarily add a huge amount of attacking flair. As the same, McCausland can be hot and cold, so I think ideally the team that starts gets us ahead and gets us in a position that we're solid and defending something rather than hopefully chasing the game, because I think our bench suits shoring up and setting up to defend a lead more than it does chasing the game. But as I say, that'll come down to how the starting 11 do.
That's it, mate. That's it. And for what it's worth, I tend to agree. I think, as you say, most of those are to, you're a goal or two up and you want to sort of tighten up before, see out the game. But, yep, we'll wait and see what happens. I think that's it for now, folks. So, again, thanks very much for listening. If you have enjoyed what you've heard, then please do like the video. Assuming everything goes well, we will be back at 5:45 to celebrate a Rangers win. That time may change, obviously, depending on what happens in the game itself, if we see any extra time, etc. But turn on your notifications for the channel and you will be updated on any changes. For now, enjoy the game, Bears. Here's hoping for a win. Thanks for listening.